Hi everyone. Thanks very much for having me today. I am going to talk about our data strategy. It is more of a think piece than anything else. And I think it's interesting to think of this in the context of what we heard from Patrick. The importance of recommendations, the importance of personalization to bring our audience, the viewer, the listener, the online user, the best possible experience that they can have. Now, what I want to talk about today is how we are thinking about the user's data to enable us to do that. And perhaps the critical part of this is that we think about people rather than viewers of a service or listeners of a service. We have to start to think about what data is best used to give each of our license fee paying customers, if you like, a better BBC. So, because our primary goal is to build a better BBC for all audiences, a BBC that's valued and that benefits everyone in the UK. I might ask for a show of hands of just how many people are from the UK here. Okay, you do have hands. This is good. Right. So we also, I think, recognise that the BBC has a role to play in what we might describe as a kind of emerging data ecosystem, and a role to play in empowering our users to make the most of their data. And it is indeed their data in many cases. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about how we're doing that and share some thoughts with you, with a bit of interactive putting your hands up again. So the context of all this is pretty well trodden ground. Our data, I'm talking as a person, my data, your data, is captured and consolidated wherever we go, whether we're from our mobile phones or when we're online or whatever it might be, increasingly consolidated by increasingly powerful web giants, and our online lives are tiny cogs in their money-making machines. So, and in return for the extraordinary benefits that we all gain from this trade, our data is taken from us, often without informed consent, and assumptions are drawn, our vulnerabilities are identified, psychographic profiles are built up of us and shared with unknown third parties that may choose to exploit this information for commercial or political gain. So what's the BBC's role in this? Well, the BBC, as many of you may know, has been a web pioneer. We're the biggest UK-based online player in the world, and the use of our online data has, I think, been shaped by the primacy of the interests of our users. That's to say, we are producing services, producing content for the benefit of our users. And over the last 20 years, the primacy of the interests of our users has largely manifested itself in terms of privacy, in terms of protection, and you could characterize this, perhaps unfairly, where no use of data is a good use of data. And that's not entirely fair. We have, for the last 80 years, looked at data very hard to understand what our audience is doing on the radio, on the television, and now online. But it has always been aggregated and anonymized and largely put towards the needs of the insight community. But what we have done over the last few years is make a commitment to develop the means to make the use of an individual's data in the delivery of our products, so to make a more personal BBC, a BBC that can better understand your interests in order then to serve you a better version of the services available. So after a great deal of consideration and thinking, the BBC account was launched a couple of years ago. So a show of hands, who has a BBC account? You need to sign in to the BBC iPlayer, so yeah. So you are among 41 million other people in the UK, and we now have, of those 41 million, about 20 million people coming to us in a signed-in state, and about 13 million people a week using primarily BBC iPlayer, BBC Sounds, and other services such as Sport and so on, where you can sign in. And this is shaping both, obviously this is a great source of insight for us, but this is also improving the experience of the users, I hope you would agree. It gives you a personalised iPlayer TV experience. It's got those sort of functional benefits of pause and resume across devices and so on, but it also offers, I hope, a better way to watch TV. We are now serving pre-rolls to people, which seem to be quite well received. And that's an opportunity for us to reach out to digital-first audiences who may not be familiar through their lack of exposure to TV trails with the range and breadth of programs that we offer. We've got autoplay recommendations now on iPlayer. We're playing catch up to Netflix and many others in this space, but that is also having significant uplift on use. And we've got targeted recommendations for you on iPlayer and Sounds, and we know that that is also increasing use and stickiness. So we're accumulating more data, and I think that that opens up more opportunities. With a richer data set across the range of different BBC products, we start to understand the user a little bit better. So we understand what news stories you're interested in. That can, though it doesn't at the moment, that can help us shape what we might want to recommend to you when you next go to BBC Sounds, for example. The goal of all this is obviously to increase the time that audiences spend with us, so we know that time is a very important driver of engagement and loyalty. You can't churn off the BBC unless you get rid of your television, and indeed every other device that allows you to watch iPlayer, but loyalty is incredibly important to us nevertheless. It helps us to understand what works with different audiences. It helps us improve the product performance, and then obviously, as I've said, personalizes that experience, improves content discovery, helps us with better curation within the context of the user, and then practical stuff like improving notifications and helping us to use now decisions around what we should commission, what we should recommission, and so on. So clearly data is delivering benefit, but this is just drawing on that sliver of you that is your BBC signed in data, and that typically for all of us represents something like 5% of your BBC consumption, and that's therefore perhaps 2% of your media consumption overall. So it's a very small sliver of what you are really interested in doing. So we recognise that the BBC is a small but I hope important part of most people's lives. If we can make more use of your data to provide you with a better BBC, what data would you want to share with us? How could we harness other data that you are generating through your other media choices, or indeed through your lives more broadly, to then use that to shape a better BBC for you? And this is the question that we're really kind of exploring at the moment. So what data of your own life would unlock a better BBC? Would it be, for example, the shows that you've been to, the gigs that you've been to recently? We could perhaps look at how we could link your BBC account to something like Ticketmaster or something. It will be up to you what you want, how you wanted to link your data across the different services that you use. Maybe you could link it to the books that you've bought or the books that you've borrowed from a library, where you've travelled recently, what your Spotify playlist is, the shows that you've watched on Netflix, the sports that you like to watch and play. If you had the power as an individual to bring these different data sets together, which ones would you choose to link together in order to give you a better experience of the BBC? So along the way, we want to be testing and learning what are the most useful data points that allow us to deliver the greatest improvement to the services that we provide to all UK households. I invite any thoughts and contributions to that end. But it isn't really just about the BBC. Arguably, we should start to think about how this data could be used not only to enhance your experience of the BBC, but to enhance other services that you use today, or indeed to be used to enhance services that might be in the interests of your community or the broader population. These might be community initiatives, money-saving initiatives, broader projects towards a healthier, happier, more informed society. So we're now thinking about what that means in terms of organisation, so that we can continue to draw on centralised data storage to deliver personal benefits to you, the user, but also, and to deliver collective benefits to everyone, and to draw on everyone's choices to better inform your own experience, while also exploring decentralised models to ensure that we deliver greater level of user control. Because at the heart of this, I think, it is about trust, it is about control of the data. But we're all these fragments expressed online through these different pockets of data. And if there is an opportunity to bring these different data sets together to deliver greater value to ourselves, then we should, I think, as a public service, explore that. So we're in experimental mode at the moment about this. We're looking at how people feel about data security. We're looking at how confident people are about sharing data with third parties, in order that we can preserve the highest levels of trust in how people's data is used within that ecosystem. We started to explore this about a year ago, and we've been exploring that with other media owners. These conversations have broadened out, and we're looking at a much wider data ecosystem and exploring how customers behave and feel. And again, welcome anyone to come and join in that conversation. So in short, what we're really trying to do is deliver a better BBC to all audiences. We're looking to see how we can use the customer's data to more effectively deliver everything that we do, but how we do that must reflect our public service values. We believe that the customer's data is theirs to control, and that their data can be an important source of value for them, both individually and collectively. And I think that the BBC has a role to think about how they can realise that value safely. Thank you very much.